G'day ladies and gentlemen. Only a few years ago, if you were an anti-vaxxer, you were laughed out of every conversation that you ever had. You probably sent your kids to school without shoes on, you probably dressed in Hessian sacks, you were terrified of fluoride causing autism, and you probably had a degree in vibes from Byron Bay University. Basically, you were insane. Right? But now it's a movement, a thought pattern perhaps, that's more popular than ever. And in this video, I think I've worked out why. Why make this video? Well, here's my answer to that. I have several reasons for making this video. 18 months of continued lockdowns. More and more rules and regulation enforced by the government and police. Media fear campaigns on a nightly schedule. People distrust authority more than ever. And is that a good thing? I guess it depends. But the main reason is the state of Victoria in Australia's south. And their leader, Dan Andrews' new special law. A law that will allow him and his government and any other government that comes after him, and that's important, they will be the ones to declare a pandemic at any point they decide. And terrifyingly of all, and I quote, under this legislation may make any order the minister believes is reasonably necessary to protect public health. And we all know from what we've seen over the last 18 months that that will be undoubtedly abused. 20,000 people just 10 days ago marched because of this bill. They protested in the streets of Melbourne. But how did the media, the government, and every blue check mark on Twitter, how did they react? What did they brand them as? Every one of these protesters, did they say, oh, these people are angry because they've lost their jobs or their livelihoods, they haven't seen their family? No. They were just crazy anti-vaxxers, which is what makes this all so very interesting. But I have one quick caveat, if you will. I am double vax, and I think there are a lot of people that can really benefit from having the vaccine. Really benefit from it. I'm going on shows next year and I want to have as many fucking antibodies as possible so when I run into you, you filthy animal, I don't get sick. And because I've said things like this or I've questioned different things that have happened during the pandemic, I've been labelled as an anti-vaxxer, I've been labelled as a government shill, I've been labelled as pushing an anti-vax agenda, I've been labelled with fucking everything. And from both sides, like for fuck's sake, can you pick one and stick with it? Fuck me dead. But first, and this is a great sponsor for this video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Safety and security are two very important aspects of daily life online. Every single day when you're on the internet, there are dirty soy boys trying to do you harm. Particularly in Australia, with new data surveillance laws rushed through Parliament, meaning the government can just take your device, collect your data, and take over your social media. Don't you wish there was someone there to protect you? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is, and their name is Surfshark VPN. Surfshark turns you into an anonymous and hard to trace online user. Do you know what geo-blocking is? Disney Plus and Netflix, for example, have different movies for each country. Access shouldn't be tied to your nationality. And Surfshark gives you all the access you need. Just connect to the service, refresh the page, and access granted. I use Surfshark every single day when I start up my laptop. I absolutely love it. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna blow you away. I have to read this again. I'm gonna blow you away with their promo code today. Are you ready for this? Get 83% off plus 4 extra months for free by using the code word BUTTSMART. That's insane. But that's just for the Black Friday and holiday period. Ladies and gentlemen, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk. Surf by your own set of rules and go and support those who support us. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the video. The definition of an anti-vaxxer is a person who is opposed to vaccination. The rise in this mindset saw with it the rise in children who are normally healthy having things like the Black fucking Death. Not great, but in the last couple of months, the definition of anti-vaxxer has changed, led by Merriam-Webster's dictionary, adding this small but significant change. They now define an anti-vaxxer as a person who opposes the use of vaccines. Same definition. Or regulations mandating vaccines. Now, I understand why a lot of people want these mandates, having the government tell you what to do. They're scared. I'd be scared too if I watched the news every night and all they did was freak you the fuck out. So of course they're behind government mandates, and they think anyone who questions anything about it is fucking insane. Now, if you're an older person or immunocompromised or obese or something like that, then sure, you probably should be scared, and that's why you should get vaccines and look after yourself, take your vitamin D and try and live a healthier life. But for your average Joe and younger people, we get the illness and we're absolutely fine. As for kids, there's a study that was released that actually pointed to young men, 16 or so, let's say, for argument's sake, that were much more likely to experience side effects or ill health from the vaccine than the actual illness. But government mandates mean that all young men that age have to have it. That's when people question things. My problem with this definition, this new definition, is anyone who questions anything is now defined as an anti-vaxxer, which has the connotations of being insane associated with it. So someone who is shitty at the government for affecting their mortgage and not allowing them to work and complains about it on Facebook is now an anti-vaxxer, or goes to one of these rallies and says like, I don't want to be locked down, I want to go to Queensland and see my family. They're an anti-vaxxer. This is just a way to argue against people asking questions. And since when did we blindly follow authority? We've never done this. Since we were kids, we never listened to our mums and dads. We always questioned them, and we should. Is it an anti-vax belief that we shouldn't be locked in our homes, and if we don't stay in our homes, we should be arrested? Is that what this new definition is suggesting? Now, I know that this topic wouldn't even exist if more people were dying. If this was some smallpox shit or the Black Death or something like that, the plague, then no one would care. Just stick anything into my arm. But because the rates of death are so low in comparison to the infection rate, people are just basically, yeah, I'm sure we'll be fine. And that's why I've said since the very beginning, if you are immunocompromised, if you are old, if you are obese, if you are sick, vaccinate immediately. But other people should be able to choose. You may be completely disagreeing with this video so far. So where does vaccine hesitancy come from? Lies are number one. There are so many lies. We were told early on, hey, get the vaccine, you won't spread it to anyone. And that was true for the first strain, if you will, of COVID. But since the Delta variant, that is no longer the case, or at least that's what the evidence points to. Delta variant, SARS-CoV-2, is the most widely spread variation of the virus, accounting for 99.8% of cases in the United Kingdom. The highly transmissible Delta variant is spreading globally, including in populations with high vaccination rates. Now, is that because antibody levels had fallen in those areas? Okay, that's an arguable point. But it's not an arguable point that it stops the spread. Governments across the world have turned this into a shit fight, a politicized shit fight. Lockdowns, businesses destroyed, lives ruined, suicide, depression, an increase of antipsychotics, antidepressants, and anti-anxiolytic prescriptions, up 25% on top of 2019. In America, it's a lot fucking stranger. Have a look at this. This is the governor of New York City.
But I prayed a lot to God during this time. And you know what? God did answer our prayers. He made the smartest men and women, the scientists, the doctors, the researchers. He made them come up with a vaccine. That is from God to us.
Good grief.
Yes, I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones, but you know there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know this. You know who they are.
This is the fucking governor talking about people not getting vaccinated.
Jesus taught us to love one another. And how do you show that love? But to care about each other enough to say, please get vaccinated because I love you. I want you to live. I want our kids to be safe when they're in schools. I want you to be safe when you go to a doctor's office.
This is why vaccine hesitancy exists, because they don't trust these people. On top of that, there's no news diversity. Everyone's covering the same stories, running with the same angle. They're demanding that everyone follows the one mainstream narrative. No one is allowed to question shit, and everyone has to follow it blindly, and that is what people will not accept. And then you see this shit.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Pfizer.
Pfizer. Pfizer.
Pfizer.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
I'm fucking sorry, what? I know this is just a brand, But it's much more than a brand now. This is just the continuation of the control of thought and the control of speech. It's exactly the same as you disagree with any other mainstream narratives. You're labeled, in this case, as an anti-vaxxer. In other cases, you'd be a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or a transphobe just because you question shit. We don't know the best way to handle all this shit. We won't know for a long time until there's a case study in 50 years and we'll probably go, fuck, we're a bunch of fucking idiots. But until then, we should be questioning what the powers that be, that are people, mind you, questioning what they do.
So in what ways has the world gone mad?
When you're not able to say out loud and in public that there are differences between men and women, the world has gone mad. When we're not allowed to acknowledge that rioting is rioting and it is bad, and that silence is not violence, but violence is violence, the world has gone mad.
When Joe Rogan used Ivermectin alongside other treatments, he was thrown to the wolves by every mainstream news provider in America and across the world as well. He became a punchline and a meme on woke Twitter. He became the laughing stock of the blue check marks. Everyone couldn't believe that he took a horse dewormer to try and save himself from COVID. And yeah, Ivermectin is used in animals to get rid of parasites. But Joe got his prescription from a human doctor, which must mean that it must be used with people, and it definitely has been used in people for a long time now, at least a couple of decades, particularly in Africa, helping millions of people. In 2015, the Nobel Prize Committee, in its only award for treatments of infectious disease since 6 decades prior, honored the discovery of ivermectin, a multifaceted drug deployed against some of the world's most devastating tropical diseases. Ivermectin underwent trials to treat river blindness in 1982 and was approved in 1987. It has been distributed free of charge through the I'm not even going to say that word, donation program MDP to dozens of countries. Thanks to ivermectin, river blindness has been essentially eliminated in 11 Latin American countries, preventing approximately 600,000 cases of blindness. Are you gonna tell those people they're fucking idiots because they're taking horse dewormer? And for malaria as well, in sub-Saharan Africa, about 75% of the villages were treated. The scientists found that a 16% reduction in childhood malaria episodes in the 4 villages, even though young children were not directly treated. Okay, so river blindness, malaria, horrible diseases, particularly malaria. Internationally, malaria is responsible for approximately 1 to 3 million deaths per year. So yes, ivermectin is a drug that's used to treat horses, but it's been used to treat people for a lot longer. And it's a part of a long list of drugs that both humans and animals use. Animals take Prozac, an antidepressant. They take antibiotics. They take pain medication. They take a lot of different drugs that a lot of human beings take. Point being, anyone who told you that Joe Rogan took a horse dewormer is disingenuous and untrustworthy, and they are an anus. Does it work for COVID? I don't fucking know. He did get better in 2 days, but he took a lot of other different drugs. But that is not the argument. Instead of arguing the point and coming up with evidence, and there is evidence to suggest that it's not that great for COVID, they went out and lied. This is why people don't trust the powers that be. In answer to my question that I started this video with, why are there so many anti-vaxxers? I believe the answer to that is that trust is lost. You can't lock people up in their homes or in jail or fine them and then ask them to trust you. People are scared, mate. And they don't trust authority blindly, and that is a good thing. The combination of fear, distrust, financial ruin, all of these reasons are why people don't want to hear from the government that you need to take this or you won't be able to go to work. They hate that shit. And this is why these new breed of anti-vaxxers, people who question anything, exist. I understand why people are scared. We're all scared. We want to go back to the way it was in 2019. But we're told every single day, the new normal, the new fucking normal. Things will eventually dissipate. We'll have another thing to be terrified about. Yeah, you relax now, but what about China? Big brother, big government, big pharma, big anything is bad. And what's worrying is we now have a whole generation of people who have been taught not to trust. More terrifyingly of all, we have a whole generation of people who have been taught to trust. And now these two groups are coming together And this is the new war that you'll see between the people. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. Be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. Me extinct. Toodle au revoir. Bye-bye.